I'm Jolene Wynn, and this is the Porn Addict's Wife podcast, episode number 188, Letting Go versus Giving Up. Hello, my lady. If you have a spouse that is struggling with a pornography problem, then you are in the right place. My name is Jolene Wynn, and I am a life coach, a member of the LDS faith, and the wife of a former porn addict. And in this podcast, I am going to teach you how to change the way that you are affected by your husband's choices. We can't change him, but what we can do is change the way that you respond when he makes the decisions that he does. I'm going to teach you how to manage your brain, how to process all of the emotions that seem so overwhelming to you so that you can finally live a life where you aren't living in fear of triggers and relapses. And by learning how to manage your mind and process your emotions, you are no longer going to be running on an emotional roller coaster, but you are going to start feeling so much more in control of your life no matter what your husband is doing. And I'm going to teach you all of that on this podcast. I can't wait to get started with you, and I'm so glad that you are here. I promise you, you're in the right place. Hello, my ladies. It is getting very close to Christmas, and my next podcast episode comes out on Christmas Day. So I want to wish you guys a Merry Christmas right now. I know that this coming week is going to be different. Your schedules are going to be off. I don't know when you're going to be listening to the podcast. I encourage you to be subscribed, though, because I do have some bonus podcasts coming out this week. But I do want to just wish you guys a Merry Christmas and hope you guys have a beautiful Christmas season. And there is still time to get a Christmas gift from me. Everybody that joins my program this month, I am sending you a Christmas gift. So don't worry, even if you join and it won't get you in time, it won't get there in time for Christmas, I will still send it to you. You can go to my website, jolenewynn.com, and you can sign up today, and it will be the best Christmas gift ever. I promise, because it is a lifetime access membership to my coaching program, and I would love to send you a gift. So I hope you guys have a fantastic week with family and gatherings and friends and lots of good food and music and all of the beautiful things that you guys do. On Christmas Eve, we always do dinner, and then we act out the nativity story. We read it from the scriptures. Everybody acts out just with, dress ups of whatever kind we have. We actually now have some pretty appropriate clothing because we were in The Chosen as extras. And so I sewed costumes for all of my kids. So we actually have some appropriate clothing, although now they're a couple years older than they were. So some of them don't fit anymore, but we're pretty good. So we have some actually pretty legit costumes to use. And we act out the nativity and we sing songs while we do it. And when I was growing up, we always did a talent show. I don't know why that was a thing on Christmas Eve, but when I was growing up, we always did a talent show. And we don't do that always, but sometimes it happens. And my kids also get to open up one gift on Christmas Eve. So sometimes we do that at night, but most of the time we do that kind of during the day so they have something to do that's not just driving me crazy. And usually they just do a Secret Santa gift, which we just exchange with my sister and her kids. So everybody gets to open up something, and Christmas is magical. So this week something fun this week is that we have a wonderful friend who does Santa as his side gig, and we are having him come to my house. I will make sure that I post videos and pictures about that on Instagram. You can follow me at Jolene Wynn Coaching, and that's going to be on Thursday, and I'm so excited. He is the most legit Santa Claus I've ever seen, and so I'm very excited about him to come visit, and my kids will sleep by the Christmas tree one night this week because we do that every year, and it's going to be a great week, and my parents are coming. It's going to be fun. So I hope you guys have a great week and Merry Christmas. So today I was thinking of what I wanted to talk to you guys about and what I wanted to help you with. And what's really been on my mind was there have been a couple events this past week that have kind of thrown into sharp relief the things that matter in my life and the things that don't. I spend a lot of time in my head thinking about my business, thinking about you guys, but also thinking about not just you and what I should teach you and what you need to learn and how I can help you, but also the business side of it. Marketing, sales, how to run funnels, how to do taxes and all the kinds of business end stuff. And sometimes that for me can be a little stressful. I don't take on a lot of stress, but sometimes that can be a little bit stressful for me. And I have been really in my head about it the last couple of months. And as I've been thinking about it, I have just recognized that I'm focusing way too much on those things, on these material things, on these financial things that have no long-term bearing. In the short term, they absolutely do, right? In the short term, we need to pay bills and things like that. But I have always had plenty. I have always had enough. And yet I find myself in this mentality of wanting more security, financial security, and thinking that if I can just figure out X, Y, and Z, then I'll feel secure. And as we know, circumstances don't create our feelings. And so even if I create that, even if I get that thing, that's not what's going to make me feel better. And I know this. But what I have been coming up against is recognizing that the things that I am trying to focus on are things that I can't control. And what I am trying to learn, and what God has repeatedly and emphasized to me over and over, and I'm such a slow learner, is that I just need to give it up, that I just need to learn to let this go. And I'm having such a hard time doing that. And I have just been praying, ladies, over and over. I'm like, Lord, can you please help me let this go? Because I haven't figured out how to do this yet. And I'm recognizing where I'm holding on to it, and it's all a false sense of control. And as I've been struggling with this over the last few months, what I have recognized, there have been, again, like I said, a couple of events that happened this week that really threw into relief that I'm focusing on these wrong things, that I just need to learn to let go, that I can just let these go and actually just enjoy and experience having everything that I have in my life. I have everything that I need. I have everything that I want. And I truly 100% believe that. I could lose my house tomorrow and I wouldn't care as long as I had my family. And I'm going to go through these examples of how this came up for me. And then I promise I'm going to apply it to the topic. Okay. So number one is I have a personal trainer at the gym that I go to, and I've been working with him for months, almost since at least since this summer. And we work together every single week, and he is phenomenal. And he this week was having some medical issues, and he's actually in the hospital. And just seeing a guy who's so strong physically and so capable and has overcome so much, and all of a sudden his whole Christmas is different. And he is okay, but they're still trying to figure out what's going on. And it just, that finding that out just kind of threw a wrench in my brain. And I was like, oh my goodness, life is so precious and our health is so precious and everything is such a gift, right? And there are things that even when we try to control, even our physical health, like this is a personal trainer. He's in very good shape. And he even has health problems that he can't control. As much as we can control, there are still things we can't. And that was the first thing. The second thing that happened was Rob threw out his back. I actually did this the week before Thanksgiving at the gym. And then Rob did this at the gym. I know we should not go to the gym. Apparently, it's not a good place for us to be. It's doing detrimental things to our health. So he threw out his back on Friday lifting weights at the gym. And I'm going to tell you kind of the full story because I'm going to go through and kind of do some parallels. But he threw out his back, and this is the first time really that Rob does not really get sick ever. And he's never been injured. So this is the first time that he actually needed help physically. And it was fascinating to watch him go through this process as I was helping him get from the closet into the bed. And it's kind of a long way, even though it sounds like it would be really close. We have to go through our bathroom and then into our bedroom. And Rob's a big guy, and he's 6'3" and 215 pounds. And it's a good thing I'm strong, ladies. And at first, he was like, no, I can do this. I can do this by myself. I've got it. And then he finally got to the point after he laid on the floor for 45 minutes. When I found him, he was at the point where he was like, I need some help. And so I helped him as much as he would let me get from the closet through the bathroom. And it wasn't until we got to the end of the bathroom that he recognized the full limitations of his physical ability at that moment, and he let me take more of it on. And by the time we got into the bed, and he's just laughing at himself, and he was so embarrassed, and he had all of this self-judgment. And I just sat there and I said, "You're the only one that's embarrassed. This doesn't embarrass me. I'm very honored to be here and to help you. This is my privilege as a wife. And I'm not ashamed about this or anything." And all of that emotion that was coming up for him, he just started to cry. And he all of a sudden was humbled in that moment about what he could and could not do physically, what his limitations were, and feeling for the very first time that he had to rely on somebody else. And that was a very humbling experience for him. And so just having him heal over the last few days and taking care of him, again, kind of threw into relief, a very sharp relief in my brain of, there are so many things in my life that I take for granted, so many things that I can't control that I take for granted. And I just sat for a moment again and just thought, there are so many things that I can't control that I try that are still not in my hands. And I'm learning to let those go, right? God's got it all. The third thing that happened was a very close friend of mine, had a family member that took her own life. And that was a very difficult thing to find out. And as I talked to her about the experience, we had actually talked about her family member just the day before. And she expressed to me her concerns, and we discussed how when someone else's mental health is not something you have the ability to control. And you can do as much as you possibly can, but ultimately their decisions and their choices are not up to you. And I know so many of you feel that with your husband. And I felt that with my husband. Rob has been in the place where his mental health has never been something that I've been able to control. And we've talked about this on the podcast. We talked about his depression and anxiety, and we've talked about how I wanted him to go to therapy and he didn't for years. And I had to learn to let that go. And that's still something that, again, was shown to me this week, was there are things that we cannot control. There are things that we have to let go of, because if we hold on to the responsibility that is not ours, we will end up breaking. If we take on emotional and mental responsibility, if we take on the responsibility of other people's actions, behaviors, thoughts, feelings, what eventually happens is we break. And either we break emotionally and mentally, or we make a physical break with that person. And if that person is your spouse, that could look like divorce, or it might look like separation, or it might just look like an emotional break where you literally break down and you can't take anymore. Or it might look like an emotional break where you say, you know what, I can't deal with you. And that's what I'm going to talk about today, where we actually give up, okay? And that can look different for everybody, okay? Now, I'm going to go through, this is what brought me to today's topic. I was thinking about all of these things that have happened this week, these 3 things, and I was thinking of kind of the themes that I saw throughout them, and the things that I've learned, and the things that I am trying to learn. And the lesson that I'm trying to learn, ladies, is letting go. And I was thinking about that, and I thought, what is the difference between letting go and giving up? Because sometimes those can seem very similar. They can be very similar actions. The actions between letting go and giving up can look identical, but they come from a completely different mindset. Okay, now a mindset is just a collection of thoughts. Okay, your mindset about anything is just your collection of thought. Your mindset about math or life or finances or your body, your mindset is just the collection of thoughts that you have about that thing. Okay, so when you are looking at, let's say, your husband's pornography problem, right? What is the difference between letting go and giving up? And how do you know which one you're in? Okay, that's what we're going to talk about. Let's look at the difference. Letting go is a release and an acceptance. When we accept what we do have control over, we release the things that we don't. And with that comes freedom, comes liberation, comes the ability to maneuver. It is actually a relief, right? We let go, right? That's like letting go. It's like you're trying so hard to grip onto something that you actually don't need to let go of. I thought of this the other day. It was like, it's like we're floating in an ocean and you are on a little floaty ring. What are those called? A lifesaver ring, right? It's like white and it's got like red on it, right? And there's probably a rope and it's tethered to a boat. Okay, but there comes a point where someone else is in the boat and says, hey, I've got you. You have to let go of the life ring. And yet we are so scared of letting go of it that we just cling to it. We stay in the water clinging to it. And they're like, look, I'm on this boat. I'm going to let you onto the boat. But you have to let go of the life ring so that I can pull you up onto the boat. And we won't let go. We're holding on to something because letting go of it feels so scary. Does that make sense? I don't know what that is for you. Think about something that you're holding on to. Maybe you're holding on to monitoring your husband's behavior. Maybe you're holding on to the story, a certain part of your story. Maybe you're holding on to a memory. For me, as I'm going through this business example, like I'm holding on to this part that I cannot control, which I'll just be frank with you ladies, is whether or not you guys sign up for coaching, okay? I can't control that. And I have all of the amazing reasons of why I just want you to so badly, right? And how I can help you. And I know that it can be amazing and I know it's going to change your life. And yet I'm holding on to whether or not you sign up. Maybe if I say the right thing or I do the right thing or if I give the right class or if I say the right thing on the podcast, maybe that'll be the thing, right? Do you guys see this? This is me trying to hold on to something that I actually have no control over. I don't have any control over whether or not you sign up for coaching. Zero control. That's entirely up to you. And yet part of me wants so badly to hold on to it because letting it go feels so scary. Right? And I remember doing this with my husband's pornography problem. I remember holding on to how I looked, how I dressed, how I showed up in our intimate relationship because I was trying to control whether or not he turned to pornography. And letting go of that, recognizing and saying, I don't actually have any control over this. This is a false sense of control. And learning to release that felt very scary. And yet it was also very liberating because I was holding on to something I had no control over anyway. Okay? That's letting go. It's an acceptance and a release. And it often comes with a positive upswing, even though it's also super scary. Okay? Now, giving up is very different. Giving up often looks like apathy. Okay? Apathy means I don't care. Okay? Which, ladies, is a lie. It's a very tempting lie. Our brain really likes apathy because holding on and wanting something different is so exhausting that we would rather just say, you know what, forget it. I don't even care anymore, right? It's too hard to care, so I'm just going to not care. But the problem is that's a lie. If we didn't actually care, then that would work. But we do care, which is why you're all listening to this podcast, is because you actually care, which is the problem. And it's not really a problem, but it is creating something negative, right? The reason that because we care, we have negative emotions that then we have to deal with, right? We are affected by his choices because we care about what he's doing, right? So when your brain offers you apathy, it's false. And it often comes with judgment. It comes with a story. When we decide we're going to go into apathy, when we say, you know what, I just can't handle this anymore. I don't even care. He's not my problem. I have enough to deal with on my own. I can't handle this full-grown man who's basically a child. I can't do this anymore. It comes with judgment, and it comes with judgment of ourselves and of him. And when we have judgment of him, we maintain this victim-villain story. Does this make sense? When we go the direction of giving up, and often, again, that looks like apathy, then what it typically comes with is judgment of him, his behavior, how he should change, how this wasn't our fault in the first place. And it keeps that story with us. And as you guys know, our story that we tell is what keeps all of our emotional pain here. Okay? And when we stay in that emotional pain, when we stay in that story, we stay the victim. And we just sit waiting for him to change so that we can feel better, which, as we know, never works. Does that make sense? So here's what I want to offer. I want to offer some thoughts of what letting go might look like. And these are ones that I've been practicing. And the first one I'm going to offer is the first tool that I'm going to offer is something that I've borrowed from my coach. And when I tried, I coached on this with her just a few weeks ago. And when we did, she said, I think you need to start with a self-forgiveness practice. And it goes, and I shared this I think maybe last week on the podcast. It starts with, I forgive myself for buying into the misbelief that blank. So for me, it's, I forgive myself for buying into the misbelief that whatever it is that I'm holding on to is connected. I found out where it was connected to me becoming the best version of myself. I'd done all the thought work, I'd worked with my coach, and we had found, and it makes no logical sense, that the reason that I wanted to control so badly whether or not you guys sign up is because ultimately what it boiled down to was connected to my desire to become the best version of myself, to progress. And I'm using my business as like a measure. I had no idea I was doing this, subconsciously using my business as a measure to make sure I was doing that, right? And so the first part of this, ladies, is recognizing, okay, I forgive myself for buying into the misbelief that this is something I have to control. Think of whatever it is that you find yourself trying to control. Start with that. I forgive myself for buying into the misbelief that this is something I need to control or that I have to control. And we start there with that self-forgiveness process and recognizing that that's all it is. It's just a misbelief. It's just your brain thinking that holding on to that is serving you in some way or something that you have to do. And it's not. It's something that you can let go. So here are some options for you, some thoughts that I want to offer that I have been practicing. Number one, this is no longer mine to carry. Remember, think of that thing that you're holding on to, that thing that you're having a hard time releasing, that your brain just wants to be like, whatever, it's too hard to care about this, let's just give up. And what if instead we just practice thinking, this is no longer mine to carry. I've been carrying it and it's no longer mine. I can set this down. Another thought that I wanted to offer was, I can't control this and I'm not supposed to. Just adding that little and can be super powerful. So if you find yourself having a thought like, I can't control this, and that seems super overwhelming or gives you a lot of anxiety or a lot of fear, right? Because that's scary to think I can't control this. Then you can add something with it, right? Because it's true. It's like, yeah, you're right. I can't control this. I'm not going to tell you that you can. It's true. I can't control this, but good news. I'm not supposed to. I'm not supposed to be able to control this. I'm not supposed to be able to control my husband. I'm not supposed to be able to control his actions. I'm not supposed to be able to take responsibility for all of it. And I forgive myself for buying into the misbelief that it has been my responsibility to do so. Does this make sense? You guys with me? I want to give you guys an example, again, coming from my own experience, because I am my own worst enemy here, and I have a human brain, is the idea, this thought that I have of that's not my job. When my sister first offered me this thought, I was talking to her about my business and all the overwhelm and all the things, and I'm trying so hard to let go, and she's like, look, girl, that's not your job. I was like, what? She was like, it's not your job to get people to sign up. And my brain kind of spinned for a minute. And I was like, according to every sales and marketing podcast I've ever listened to and every book I've ever read, then that's exactly what my job is to market and sell in such a way and accurately portray the answer that I have and the solution in such a way that it generates interest and people want to purchase. And she's like, no, that's not your job. And my mind blew up a little bit. And I was like, excuse me? She said, that's not your job. You can't control whether or not people sign up, and you're not supposed to. And so I wanted to offer this thought, is that sometimes you can have one sentence that creates two different emotions depending on the mindset that you have when you're thinking it, okay? Remember, your mindset is just your collection of thoughts. So if you have the mindset of letting go versus giving up, it might contain the same thought, okay? This is the example, okay? The sentence is, the thought is, this is not my job. Now, if I am in a giving up mindset, then that might feel very scary. And it might feel very, I might have a lot of resistance to that. I might feel very defeated. I might feel very, uneasy, right? This is not my job. Or I might feel frustrated because I want it to be my job. Or I might just say, you know what? This is not my job. And I just pretend like I'm okay with it. And I might have that anger and that frustration and that bitterness, right? That's what could be created if I'm in a giving up mindset. But if I'm in a letting go mindset, then it might feel liberating, might feel freeing. This is not my job, and let it go. Okay, notice that sometimes one thought can have different emotions depending on what you make it mean, depending on how you think it. I know that sounds crazy, okay? But the mindset that we go into it can change how you experience it and what it means for you, okay? Let's do another example. And this is one that has come up for me a ton over the last year with everything that I've worked through with my husband and his attraction and all the things, is I can't do this anymore, okay? And that thought can either be very defeating if you're in a giving up mindset, or it can lead to acceptance if you're in a letting go mindset. When you look at another example, if you look at how you've been working through your husband's pornography problem, okay? Think of what it is, the actions that you're doing, the steps that you're taking. Are you processing? Are you journaling? Are you not talking to anybody? Are you keeping it all inside? Are you yelling with your spouse? Like how is it that you've been working through this? Because this is where I see this comment the most is, I can't do this anymore. And that can either be very defeating and make you want to give up, or it can be an acceptance of, you know what, I can't do this anymore. So let me change what I'm doing. Maybe I can't do this, but that doesn't mean that I can't do anything. Do you guys see the difference? When we let go, there's still possibility. There's still hope. We aren't giving up and saying it's hopeless. We're keeping the hope. We're keeping the possibility, but we're letting go of this false sense of control and releasing that to the people who actually have control over it, be that God or other people. Does this make sense? You guys with me? So as I was looking at this and thinking about letting go versus giving up, the beauty of letting go is that it really opens space to receive, because it keeps that hope, because it keeps that possibility, because it gives away what we don't need. When we give that away, we're creating a space for something else to come in, right? It's a humbling of ourselves that enables us to clearly see what we can and can't control, and makes us more willing to bring in others to aid us where necessary, right? It enables other people to take what we don't need, and it helps us to bring in and to receive from others things that could help us, right? So for example, if I let go of taking on the responsibility for my husband's behavior, then I've created a space. And in that space, I can receive maybe more love from him. Maybe I can receive more positive emotion, more positive interaction with him, because I am no longer holding on to all of that negative interaction, that negative space, that control that I'm trying so desperately to hold on to in order to change what he's doing. And maybe letting go and saying, all right, maybe this isn't something I can control anymore. Or I never could, but I thought I did, and I was trying to do it in all the wrong ways. Letting go enables me to receive somebody else's help. Like, for example, let's say physically, right? Let's say you have tried all of these self-hatred ways to make yourself lose weight, and you are finally willing to let go of what you can't control. Right? It's not giving up. We're not saying this is hopeless and I might as well just stop because it's too hard to care. We say, you know what? I do care, but I'm letting go of the things that I can't control, and I'm going to start focusing on what I can. And when I let it go of what I can't control, then I'm able to receive help from other people. Again, it brings that humility, right? Letting go only comes after we're humble. Okay? I'll be honest. When we are too prideful, and this is where I have been, ladies, I know this from experience because I was talking to God and I was like, all right, I know I need to let go and I know I have everything that I want, but right now we're at a battle of wills, my friend. Right now it is me versus you. And I know that you have, my best interests at heart, but I know that you're going to give me everything that I need. I just want more of it and I want it now. It's just my brain throwing a tantrum and hitting my pride up against God's will rather than me saying, you know what? I'm humbling myself now. And I am willing to sit here as long as it takes because I don't have any control over this. And I'm doing my best. Oh my gosh, I'm getting so emotional. And being willing to say, God, not my will, but thine, right? Just like Jesus did, right? It's the humility. It's the humbling of ourselves. That has to come before you have the ability to let go because our pride will always get in the way. In the same way that when Rob was laying on our closet floor for 45 minutes, he tried really hard to just do it on his own. He was like, nope, I've got this. I can do it. And so many of us, that's where we start with whatever it is. We're just like, no, I can do this. I can power through. This is where I started with my husband's pornography problem. 100%. I was like, no problem. We've got this. I've told you guys this, right? My first response when Rob was like, hey, guess what? I've been addicted to porn. I was like, no problem. We can do this. Let's do all the things. No big deal. Like, we can face this head on. We can totally do it, right? And that's where I was. And I was like, no need for God. No, not that I said no need for God, but I was very much like, oh, this, sure. Very confident in our own abilities, right? In my own ability. Ladies, my ability has nothing to do with whether or not my husband watches porn. And neither does yours, right? With your husband. And being willing to say, wow, I don't have any control over this. This is something I have to let go of, was something I didn't learn. It took me years to learn that. I tried all the ways to control him, and I didn't even realize I was doing it, right? But all of that was just my pride getting in the way, saying, no, I can fix this, because it gives me that false sense of control. And that false sense of control, ladies, is really tempting. It's really tempting to hold on to that little life-saving circle in the middle of the ocean. But we have to let go of it in order to get on the boat. Does this make sense? Maybe that analogy doesn't work for any of you, but it works in my head, okay? So Rob, when he was sitting on this floor for 45 minutes, that was the process he went through. And eventually he had to get to a point where he was like, I'm going to accept some help here because I can't do this on my own. And so that's when I came, and he had all the self-judgment thoughts, ladies, all of them. And he only let me help a little bit, and we only got so far. And it wasn't until he got to the point where he said, all right, this isn't working. I can't do this. It was super humbling. And that's when he let me take over. And that's when I got him into the bed. And it's not until we have that experience, it's not until we humble ourselves that we're really able to receive the help of other people, receive whatever it is that we are blocking because of our own unwillingness to let go of this false sense of control. And again, ladies, it's because it is so scary. Whatever it is, whether that thing that you want to do, whether that's joining my program, it's scary to let go of the money. It's scary to admit that it's scary to stop trying to check your husband's phone and check the router and monitor where he is on your 360 Life phone app or whatever it is. It's scary to stop doing that because we have this false sense of control. But ladies, let me tell you that letting go of that false sense of control is the thing that brings freedom, is the thing that brings release. Letting go is available to you. And again, the biggest difference between letting go and giving up is that you keep the hope. You keep the possibility. I had someone follow me on Instagram, and she sent me a message, and she's like, I just found you, and I have a question for you. Is it truly possible? Is it really possible for my husband to heal? Is it really possible that we could have a better relationship than we have now? Is it truly possible for us to move forward? And I said, yes. That is, but recognizing what you do and don't have control over, ladies, and letting go of what you don't and focusing on what you do is what brings it about. So if you find yourself giving up, going to apathy, going to the, you know what, I just can't even care anymore because it's too hard, then I want to offer that we make the shift. And you start by forgiving yourself for buying into the misbelief that this is something you have to control, because typically that's what happens. The reason we want to give up is because we're trying to control things that are not our business. We're trying to control things that we can't, and that's what leads to emotional exhaustion and burning out, and that's what makes us want to give up. So instead of giving up, ladies, let go instead. And that's what's going to end up creating the life that you want. I love you, ladies. I hope you have a beautiful week, a very Merry Christmas. Again, I love you so much. I'll talk to you next week. Take care. All right, ladies, it's time to rise up and take charge of your healing, and I have the best way for you to do it. I have created a lifetime access coaching program that I have designed specifically for you and exactly what you're going through right now. This is where I help you develop a personal mastery of all the tools that you're learning here on the podcast in order for you to create a permanent change. Go to my website, jolenewind.com. You will find all the information there, and you can sign up today, and we will start going forward. I can't wait to see you there.